Welcome back to Redirecting. I had a very interesting story come across my desk this morning, and I definitely want to talk about this. As you see from the title, there was a discussion at some point where you had executives who wanted Julia Roberts to play Harriet Tubman. And so I've seen this article in a number of different news outlets, and I decided to read this one on TMZ. There's another one on NBC, but this one I felt was very, very interesting to read indeed. I can't even believe that this is a story or that it was ever a consideration. But that's why I chose this article, because it starts like this. It says, "There's whitewashing in Hollywood, and then there's this." In other words, it's almost like saying, okay, we've seen whitewashing, but this? Julia Roberts? Harriet Tubman? Really? So he goes on to say that a studio exec thought it would be a good idea for Julia Roberts to play Harriet Tubman, according to the writer of the new film Harriet. Now, another article I read, it actually said that because a lot of people didn't really truly know who Harriet Tubman was, that it shouldn't have mattered who played the part, whether it was a black or a white woman. So they were thinking that it would probably go over better if you have the white woman play the part versus Harriet Tubman, because you know the whole white savior thing, this Southern belle who sees these poor Negroes who needs help. And so what she does is she puts her life on the line so that she could rescue the Negroes. But history and truth tells us that it was actually the black woman who decided, no, I'm going to rescue my own people. I am going to let my people go, you see. But again, the whitewashing that happens in Hollywood is nothing new. But for them to even think or consider of stooping that low, there's no shock there either. But anyway, it says screenwriter Gregory Allen Howard says the ridiculous scene went down more than 25 years ago in a pitch meeting about the Tubman project. Howard says the exec told the room, "This script is fantastic. Let's get Julia Roberts to play the part of Harriet Tubman." Roberts was widely considered America's sweetheart at the time, after starring in a string of hits like Steel Magnolias, Pretty Woman, and The Pelican Brief. Howard says when someone pointed out to the studio exec that Tubman was black and Roberts shouldn't play the role, he replied, "It was so long ago. No one is going to know the difference." Okay, so it was here in this article too that was stated. Okay. In other words, it doesn't matter if you're going to white out such a fantastic icon in history. It doesn't matter, because that was so long ago. Guess what? They did the same thing with the Bible. It was so long ago that they decided to take a paintbrush and make Yahusha, the one who the world calls Jesus, they decided to make him white too. And so the whiting out of history goes back a long time. And we as a people don't realize how significant this is. Anyway, I'm going to go on to read the rest of it. It says, thankfully, the Hollywood honcho didn't get his way. And flash forward to 2019, Howard's movie about the legendary abolitionist who led hundreds of slaves to freedom via the Underground Railroad is finally in theaters. Of course, the casting of black British actor Erivo was also criticized because she's not an African American. Can't please everybody. By the way, Howard was best known for his hit movie touching on race relations in America, Remember the Titans. Now get this, the situation of Cynthia Erivo being not just a British actress, but British Nigerian. So she was a British Nigerian. not an African American. So her experience was totally different than ours, right? So even casting her was, in my opinion, the downplaying of what Mother Harriet went through, because this woman, now I wouldn't have had any issues with Cynthia Erivo playing the part if it weren't for the statements or the sideline statements that she had made about African Americans. I wouldn't have had a problem with it. I would have, okay, you know, I would have preferred an African American play the part, okay? But I wouldn't have minded at all if she played the part, if she didn't make the statements that she made about so-called African Americans, because I think they were very insensitive. And it goes back again to how even other black people around the world in other countries on the continent of Africa have a tendency to look down on blacks here in America, while at the same time trying to appeal to us to share some of our money and our wealth to help build whatever, or to help promote them, or whatever it is. So there's the sense that blacks in America are liquid money, and everyone wants to use and get a piece of that pie as well. And so, but this whole Julia Roberts thing is just crazy. Very, very crazy. It's ridiculous that someone so ignorant in that time, back in the 90s, would think that it was a good idea to cast this white woman as Harriet Tubman. But that is what has taken place throughout history, y'all. This is why I felt some kind of way about them rewriting even the story. It doesn't matter if you are just putting a black woman to fill in instead of Julia Roberts. If you are going to rewrite the story, you are still doing a disservice to the so-called black community, because our children do not need to look at this movie as a historical reference to what actually happened. The last thing we need at this time, especially with the pressures and the stresses and the woes and the friction between black men and black women, the last thing we need is a movie that shows that during our roughest and toughest time, that a black man was willing to hunt and kill Harriet Tubman. That is the last thing we need. It's bad enough that True Events talks about how her husband was against what she was doing and was even willing to turn her in. That's bad enough. But to show a black man as perfectly willing to hunt and just kill her, we didn't need that. We need the truth, okay? We don't need Julia Roberts' face. We don't need a whitewashed script. We don't need add-ins or takeaways. We need the truth. And this is very telling of Hollywood. They love the storyline, but this idiot of that time, either he didn't know about the true Harriet Tubman or the real Harriet Tubman, or he just simply didn't care. Because he's, oh, that happened a long time ago. Julia Roberts would be great for this. I can imagine what was going on in his mind. He was thinking of that Southern belle who acts so well, and how she is going to be this freedom fighter that is going to fight for the poor black folk that are trying to get away from massa. That this white woman was going to be the hero of the day. Very interesting indeed. She was going to be the one to get our people to freedom. Not a black woman, not a black man, but a white woman. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe so that we can keep the momentum going. Okay, family? With that, I will say shalom. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.